Patrick Kanuski. I'm the Director of Operations at the Ark Encounter. This Ark that you see here is a direct representation of the biblical account of Noah and the flood. So what we've done here is we've taken the true dimensions of the Bible in Genesis and we've replicated a full-size Ark. But in 2004 even, the first thoughts about doing an Ark replica was thought about, and it just kept moving up on the to-do list. And then eventually broke ground in the summer of 2014, and then we opened the Ark Encounter in July of 2016. Since that time, we've had hundreds of thousands of people come through here. It's got rave reviews. People are very excited about this. And the first deck is really an introduction to the Ark. It's our shortest deck, is just to get people oriented to the Ark itself, how big the wood is and things of that nature, and some animal cages and some information about some of the animals. The second deck is really where the story starts, and the first exhibit that everyone sees is an exhibit called the Pre-Flood World, Pre-Flood Society, which really sets up for the guest why was the Ark built in the first place. It starts with creation in this particular exhibit, and it goes through sin and the fall of man, and then how society really degraded from there, and how it was so bad that God said, hey, have a do-over, basically. And then Noah and his family are seen in working scenes on deck 2 as well, feeding the animals, and also Noah in his study. There's a library that's set up in there. There's a wood shop, a blacksmith shop, and then, just different exhibits like that. And one of our main features on deck 2 is the door. And you may see the ramp that's behind me here. That ramp goes to the door on deck 2, and there's a gospel presentation there. And we also, every day on deck 2, have live animals that we bring in from our zoo. Bring those up on the elevator and get them right into deck 2 so people can actually see live animals on the Ark. We have kangaroos, and right now a couple of the female kangaroos have joeys in their pouch, which is pretty neat. We have camels and donkeys, and the camels and donkeys, we actually have rides on those that people can take. We also have some farm animals like goats and smaller animals in a petting area, and those animals, various different combinations of those animals come onto the Ark every day. So that's really deck 2, and then once the folks go up to deck 3, again, that's another large, it's a tall deck, deck 2 being the tallest, but deck 3 is a large deck as well. And there's a lot of excellent museum quality exhibits on deck 3. The first thing that the guests will see is Noah's living quarters. So we've set up a living quarters for Noah and his wife, and then Noah's sons and their wives. So the 8 people, their living quarters. There's a garden, there's a kitchen, a dining area, an aviary, things of that nature in the living area. I also want to mention there's two movie areas, 2 film areas, where on deck 2 in the stern, there's a Noah's interview. Back in Noah's time, there's an atheist lady from a newspaper, a local newspaper there in Noah's time, and she interviews Noah, and then the sequel to that movie is on deck 3, where the same actors are actually in modern day, and they're interviewing a guy named Noah who works here at the Ark Encounter. So that's it's really a powerful presentation on deck 2 and deck 3 in our theaters. And then continuing around on deck 3, again, the museum quality exhibits on deck 3 are just amazing. There's an exhibit about the flood geology, what the earth would have looked like before and after the flood, how dramatically the earth was changed by the flood. There's an exhibit on the Ice Age. There's an exhibit on ancient man, the Tower of Babel, and then finally we get to an exhibit that discusses and presents the rainbow. It's called the Rainbow Covenant, which is really the promise that God made that the earth would not be destroyed again by water, by a flood, and it talks about the rainbow. And then another thing that we're very proud of is that Mr. Green and the Hobby Lobby group has displayed a lot of their Bible artifacts in an area that's called Museum of the Bible. Museum of the Bible is being constructed right now in Washington, D.C., and that museum has let us borrow some of their artifacts, and the artifacts are going to stay here in 11 different display areas on Deck 3. It's really an awesome display of the Bible. And then finally, the last exhibit that folks will see on Deck 3 is an exhibit we call Why the Bible is True. And it's actually a walk through a storybook of 3 college students and their travails. They're in a class about the Bible and world religions, and just what exactly does their professor espouse in this class, and they kind of wrestle with what the professor's saying. And there's a whole story about these 3 college students as you wind through this storybook, and it's a very good gospel presentation at the end. So that's really good. And again, we have the zoo that's out back. We have a restaurant here also, a 1,500 seat, which is quite good. And if you read everything, if the guests would read all the exhibits, and if they would have something to eat, and if they would go to the zoo, it probably takes a good 3, 4, 5 hours to go through the whole Ark Encounter as it is right now. The best way to get in touch with us is we have a lot of websites. The Answers in Genesis website will also take you to the Creation Museum website and the Ark Encounter website. And you can get your tickets online if you want on those websites. The website also has our phone numbers that are available here in Kentucky. You can call folks to make reservations if you want to actually talk to a person instead of doing it online. Again, we appreciate you all watching this about the Ark Encounter, and we'd like to see you here. Again, you'd be one of hundreds of thousands of people that have come, and I think you'll be amazed when you get here. Another feature that we have here that is very popular is we have overnights here on the Ark. So youth groups, other groups can come here and sleep over on the Ark. Instead of staying out in town at a hotel or something, youth groups come here actually at night, right after we close. They bring their bedding into those theaters I was telling you about on Deck 2 and 3, and they bed down, they put their things down there, they go on a scavenger hunt that night when they get here. They also see a movie and have a snack, and then we usually bed them down around 11:30 or so at night. The next morning they get up, they have their own program at the zoo, their own private program at the zoo. They have breakfast at Zara's kitchen at the restaurant, and then they stay on the Ark all day. And that is quite reasonable. It's a regular ticket plus only $19. So if folks come here with a large group, youth group, obviously you need to have chaperones and things of that nature, but if they come with a group, high school, junior high, youth groups, etc., school groups or church groups, then they can stay here on the Ark overnight instead of staying out in a hotel.
Good question. Right now, I'm documenting some of the terrible things that happened before the flood. I need to warn my children and their children after them what can happen if they do not follow the Creator.